Hello friends, Cowboy Jobu here with the Jobu Report, and as always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Report. Man, I gotta tell you, First Take Dallas Cowboys was off the chain today because we got a breath of fresh air. That's right, Michael Irvin, the playmaker himself, joined the cast, as well as Stephen A. Smith not being on. Woo! Okay, we're talking about the Green Bay Packers versus the Dallas Cowboys and the matchup. Let's roll the tape.
Here goes Irvin down the left sideline, and he's in for the touchdown. In for Michael Irvin in the corner. Oh, what a catch! I gotta go deep on Rex. I gotta go deep. Boy, way down the field for Michael Irvin. Buffalo Ryan at the ball. He's got it. The ball. Touchdown, Cowboys. I was running wide open down the sideline. Caught, and Irvin's gone. That one is 65 yards.
You know that man, he is simply the playmaker. Nearly 12,000 yards, 65 touchdowns, and count them, 3 Super Bowl rings. We welcome Cowboys legend and NFL Network analyst, our friend Michael Irvin, to the show. Irv, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, thank you guys for having me and everything. And just know this, that I've already texted Stephen A. and said to him, if ever you hear that I am coming on this show, I don't care that you had something planned. You drop your plans and get your butt in that seat. Your action towards my Cowboys has warranted my presence, and now you're not even here.
I know, so fitting that he's missing when the Cowboy shows up, but you'll just have to come back and get him. But let's talk about your Cowboys.
Yes,
how about them back in the playoffs finally? How concerned should they be, though, about Aaron Rodgers coming to town?
I love this, and we do this every time, since the Cowboys didn't play last week and Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers played last week. We build the greatness up of Aaron Rodgers. These Cowboys have to know, we saw Aaron Rodgers in week 6. I know everybody's saying he is right below God right now, but he is still a man that you beat in week 6. Be concerned about his greatness, but understand and play your game. Be more concerned about you. That's the motto that they're placing around here over at the Star in Frisco, Texas. And they're worried only about the Dallas Cowboys.
Michael Irvin, my friend, I have a question for you about a debate we just had. After Will Kane, who's a crazy Cowboys fan, was telling me about how great the Cowboys are, he then turned around and said, even if they don't win a playoff game this year, it's been a successful season. Michael Irvin, my contention is that given the fact that they were probably the best team wire to wire in the NFL,
right,
and they haven't won a lot of playoff games recently, they gotta at least win a playoff game to call this season a success. Who's right?
That's what it's about. When Marley was introducing me and she was talking about all of those numbers, I was like, blah, 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 blah. But when she said 3 rings, ears perk up. That's all it's about. It's about the rings. And you get them by winning playoff games. So, yes, you had a good season. But you need to win this playoff game to solidify where you're headed. Yeah, they got young guys, and this is a new stage for those young guys, but they need to win this playoff game so you're not saying, oh, it's just like 2014.
As long as we brought this guy in who I've idolized since my teen years to settle our debates, let's do this one too, Max. All right, Michael, I know that I'm setting myself up to lose with this question. I'm going to ask the playmaker how important it is to have big-time star wide receivers to win the Super Bowl. We've seen in the past several years, we've seen the Giants win the Super Bowl without a big stud wide receiver. We've seen the Patriots win without a big stud wide receiver. And by the way, we've seen the Cowboys this year do pretty well without Dez demanding the ball the way you did back in the day. So how important is it for these teams to have a receiver like you, and B, feed him?
Listen, guys, when teams don't have that premier #1 receiver, It's not that they're not trying to get one, they just don't have one. And kudos to the coaches that can schematically beat another scheme when they're playing scheme on scheme, coming up with things to out-scheme you. But sooner or later, you're going to get down into a game where it has to be man beat man. And that's when you want to turn to your number one receiver and say, win this football game with me. I don't subscribe to this mess that you don't need a top receiver. You need a pinpoint for your offense. You guys keep bringing up New England. New England has a hell of a pinpoint for their offense, and his name is Gronk. He's uncoverable, and he is a receiver, and he is a number one receiver. So I understand what you guys are trying to say, but it's a subscription I will not pay for.
Michael Irvin, now that you've put Will in his place twice, not once, but twice.
I haven't gone at him
Is
yet. Hold on.
Dez therefore the tipping point in this game? Because, look, I know it's Zeke in the offensive line, right? And then Dak making smart decisions, and I believe in all that. I still think Rodgers is live because he's just absurd. But it's hard to imagine the Cowboys losing if Dez, with those ball skills, jumps up a couple times and comes down with a couple in the end zone. That would seem to put it over the top. Is he the key player in this game as a result of that?
Well, we've heard so much about this is not the same Green Bay Packer team, that they played in Week 6. Stop lying. Yes, it is. I was looking at the roster. They're the same guys. They may be playing better, but they are the same guys. And they'll be missing, certainly not 100%, Jordy Nelson. And Dallas is getting back their top receiver in Dez Bryant. Absolutely, he should make a huge difference in this game. Bryce Butler, those guys, they were killing the DBs of the Green Bay Packers because of injuries. And if I'm correct, those guys are still dealing with a lot of injuries on the back end. Dez Bryant is the final key to making this the true dynasty. I mean, not Dez Bryant and his physical ability, but the connection between Dak and Dez is the final key to being able to turn this not into just a one season, great season, but hopefully a dynasty moving forward for the Dallas Cowboys.
Michael, speaking of number one receivers, really want to get your take on this. So Odell Beckham, as you know, took that trip down to Miami and then didn't show up in the rest of that receiving corps against the Packers. He's receiving a lot of scrutiny. Is it fair?
Well, it's fair because he opens himself up for it when he goes down to Miami and we're taking the pictures and everybody's going to talk about it. That's just the nature of the beast, and especially when you're in New York. Now, what we don't talk about is how cold it was in Green Bay, and trust me, I've been in there. I know when the hands are frozen and that ball is heavy and it's more difficult to catch that football. We're not talking about that because we're talking about both situations so much. It is absolutely fair. We look for the press, so when it turns against us, it's something you have to deal with. But it's also a great setup for a great bounce back. Next year you come back into the playoffs and you go off, they'll be measuring what happened last year and how you've done things differently this year. That's what's great about football. You get another shot if you're Odell Beckham and the Giants. You just have to wait the next year, get a shot at my Cowboys this year, not again.
All right, Mike, so the triplets. Dak says that he, Dez, and Zeke want to be the new triplets. We had this debate on this show. Number one, what do you think of that? B, is that a sign of respect? Is that understanding Cowboys tradition? Or is that too much too soon, not quite, young man?
No, man, I want you to look at the mountain and then go and grab it. Yes. I always say this all the time. Hey, I look at it as if these are our babies. Every parent wants their ceiling to be their kid's floor. I want to take it up high as I can, and I want my kids to step on it and take it higher. These are just for sake. I call Dez my son. I want him to be better. I want him to do better. We want him to make that comparison. Let me tell you guys something. I hear people all the time say, Michael, why don't you make them retire your jersey? I said, why? Why wait to get my flowers when I'm dead? When I'm dead, they'll put the camera up and say, Michael died today, and come back down. With that number on Dez's back, every time he makes a play, they say, boy, that looks like Mike Irvin. When he drops a play, they say, boy, Mike Irvin wouldn't have dropped that. I get my flowers every Sunday. When they do well as a triplet, we get our flowers every Sunday.
88 is tradition. Pearson, Irvin, Dez. 88 doesn't need to be retired. It's tradition.
Playmaker, that's what it is.
It's
Michael.
tradition.
We need you to come back when Stephen A's here so you can go at it with him. Promise to do that?
I will definitely do
Okay.
that. I'm getting on the airplane so I can be in studio.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Don't miss Michael on NFL Game Day this Saturday at noon Eastern and Sunday at 9 Eastern. This Sunday, he sits down with Jerry Jones. That is going to be good. Michael, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.